When I call a lead and they tell me that they already have insurance, all I say is this, and it works most of the time. I hear what you're saying, and most people I speak with already have insurance, but they find this information really valuable, and I keep going right on to my script. Now, what I'm going to go over today are things just like that can help you increase your final expense telesales production by 50% or more. What I've found is that most agents simply are not getting enough presentations in to make enough sales in the week. Think about it. If you want to make 10 sales in a week, you can't do that only making 10 presentations. You have to have at least 30 or 40 presentations in a week. And what happens is most sales agents give up way too soon. So what I'm going to cover is how to push through the greeting, how to push through the fact finding, and how to push through the close to make that sale, even if you have a prospect that you don't think is going to buy and isn't giving you any indicators that they're going to buy at all. In the greeting, you're going to run into a few main objections. They can say they already have insurance. They can say they're not interested. They can say they're busy. They don't have time. They can say they don't remember. They can say, oh, I wanted $1 million policy. I don't think you can do that. Or they can say, I don't have any money. Those are the major things that you're going to run into in the greeting. Now, I have a website that will give you the rebuttals to overcome any of those objections. But this one I'm going to give you right here, right now, is what you can use to overcome any of those, and it's pretty universal. If someone says any of those, all you say is this: hey, I hear what you're saying. I get it. Now, my job is just to get you this information in the shortest amount of time possible so that you can make a decision whenever you're ready and you continue on to your sales presentation. That one rebuttal will help you overcome just about all of those more often than not. And you have to say them with the right tone. You have to say them with the right tempo. And the trick is that after you say them, you have to just continue on with your script. If you want a copy of my script, you can just email me at jve@thejve.com and I'll send you a copy. And you'll see I have it outlined in there exactly how you say those and then pivot and transition right to your script. Because the thing is, I found most agents treat what people say in the greeting, the objections that they get, they give them too much attention. It's like, I treat it, everything that someone tells me in the greeting of the sales presentation, I treat it as if it's a lie and they're not even really telling the truth, or that it doesn't even really matter. It's just a response. It's a reaction that someone's getting because they're scared to talk with you and they don't trust you. So I want you to start looking at it like that. I want you to start looking at it kind of like maybe if a little kid is complaining and it's just like, okay, yeah, whatever, and you just keep moving on. Yeah, I want you to look at it the same way. If someone tells you that they already have insurance, don't ask them what they have for insurance. If someone tells you that they're not interested, I wouldn't ask them, well, what were you interested in when you did this? If someone says, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time, I wouldn't say, well, when will you not be busy? When do you have time? Just agree with what they're saying and move on. You'll be surprised that most people that you just do that with are going to let you go and just get a full presentation in anyway. And when you validate what they're saying in the greeting, you're saying that their objection is valid right there. And I don't consider anything an objection until I ask for the money. So in order for you to get a lot of presentations in, you have to push through the greeting, because if you don't get through the greeting, then you're not going to get into a presentation at all. Some other things and snags that agents run into in the fact finding once they get into the development part of the presentation is that sometimes they get people on the line who said that they don't make decisions for themselves. Sometimes they can't find the need. They can't find a reason why the client wants insurance, and they can't really pull out any emotions behind it. And it seems like they don't care about insurance and they don't care about the people in their life enough to even get a policy. And also clients will bring up price objections and say, oh, I can't afford this because I don't make any money. Of course, those can all be reasons why people wouldn't buy insurance, right? People may not be the decision maker. They really may not be, and they may end up not being able to get it. Say someone lives in a nursing home and they don't pay their own bills. That's a situation where, hey, they can't get a policy. Or maybe someone doesn't care at all about their family, or they already have everything fully taken care of. They don't think they need more. I get it. You run into that situations. In the script, there are all those questions to pull those things out of the client to try to nail down on those things. But what I want to tell you is, regardless of what anybody says there, I want you to push and try to get a quote in and go for that close no matter what. If they're not the decision maker, if you can't find a need, and if they're giving you complaints about price, and all that means is you know what objections are going to be able to come up in the future, and you know what you're going to have to handle. So do your best to push through no matter what people tell you and get that presentation in no matter what, because this is going to drastically increase your sales. Now, when you get to the close and you run into these types of objections, you're going to run into people saying that I have to talk to someone else, right? If someone was pretty adamant in the fact finding that they don't make decisions for themselves, then you're going to have to handle that. If someone who is pretty adamant about there's really no need and they don't really feel like it's something that they could use, then you're going to have to handle that. And if someone that says they don't have enough money, then you're going to have to handle that. So there's a basic way to handle most objections, and it's called a loop. Jordan Belfort it's like a thing he developed, and it works really, really well for us. And then there are also a bunch of other closes that I'm going to cover a few of them here on how to overcome those types of objections. But what you got to understand is that you have to have a bunch of different closes in order to be successful in this business. You can't just have like one or two that you rely on, because you're going to want to push and get like 5, 6, or 7 or more no's before you move on and decide that this person is not going to get insurance. I teach my agents to have that person hang up on them. Like, I want you to be so persistent that this person either hangs up on you or says, I got nothing else to come at you with. Let's get this taken care of. So this one rebuttal I'm going to cover right here is how you can handle just about any objection you're going to run into. Now, the reason why it's important to try to present to the people who you don't think will buy is because you're already going to have those laydowns anyway. So say you get 5 laydown sales in a week and you present to 10 more people who you don't think would even ever get the insurance, you're probably going to end up closing a few of them. All right. And this is how I found you handle any objection you run into. So someone gives you whatever objection. You say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but do you like the idea of a program like this? Do you like the idea of leaving some extra money behind for whoever the beneficiary is? You use the name. And most of the time they'll say yes. And if they say no, then there's not really much you can do because they don't like the product to begin with anyway. Most of the time they're going to say yes. They like the idea of being able to leave extra money behind to their family. Most people do. You say, well, exactly. You see, the true beauty of the plan is that unlike most plans out there, this program will never go up in price. Now, a lot of the plans that you see on TV or that you get in the mail, they actually go up in price every 5 years, and they actually cancel by age 85 or 90, and at that point, they're almost even unaffordable to have. They won't even tell you the prices in those ages when in those mailers that you get because it's so expensive. So you know that once you get this plan, you're never going to have to worry about the price changing. This is the only thing in your life that won't go up with inflation. Eggs are going to go up. All your other insurances are going to go up. Even your Medicare will go up. But you know what? This one will not go up. It's going to be flat and locked in. So what we're really doing is we're representing some of the features and benefits to try to get them more sold on the product. Another thing I talk about, if the policy has a terminal illness benefit, is I say this, right? And I say another benefit of this plan that's absolutely incredible is the terminal illness accelerated death benefit. This comes included with your plan at no additional cost. And what this lets you do is it lets you receive this benefit ahead of time if you're ever terminally ill. And I say, now let me ask you this, Betty. Who will be taking care of you before you pass if you got really, really sick? Because 70% of people die of a terminal illness. And they usually say someone near them, or it's usually the beneficiary. You say, okay, well, you know the average out-of-pocket expenses for someone in the last 5 years of their life is $38,000. Most people don't know that. You can say, look, well, when that person takes this time to take care of you, it's going to cost them more money. They may lose wages from work, from not being able to work as much. And their expenses are going to increase because they're going to absorb some of your expenses too. So what this plan will do, it'll allow you to get some of your life insurance death benefit ahead of time, if not the whole thing, to help with those expenses that come up and help make sure that you're not taking food off anyone else's table because you are really sick. All right. I wish I had this before my mother passed, and this is a true story. I wish I had this before my mother passed because it would have saved me so much money in credit card debt. That took me a while to pay off. And then you ask, do these make sense to you? Or do you understand these benefits I'm going over? Or, hey, do you like that one? Or like just ask them a question about it. When they say, yeah, I understand, or yeah, it sounds good. You say, exactly. It's an amazing program. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask them how they feel about you. You're going to evaluate if they trust you or not. And you don't do this by asking them if they're going to trust you. You say, now let me ask you this. If Johnny, or the beneficiary, whoever the beneficiary is, if Johnny came to you and said, hey, Mom, I really am going to need this program when you pass because I don't have the money. And even if I did, wouldn't it be cool to have to come out of my savings for it? So do you think you could maybe look into something to help me out with this for when that time comes? If Johnny came up to you and asked you that, would you do it? Most of the time, they're going to say yes. And if they say, no, I wouldn't do it, be like, come on, give me a break. If Johnny came to you and asked you to do this, you wouldn't do it. 90% of the time, they're going to say yes, though. That if their beneficiary came to them and asked them to do this, that they would do it. After they say yes, what they're really saying there is that they don't trust you enough. They don't see you as a trusted advisor as much as they do see their children as a trusted advisor, their beneficiary, for them to want to do this with you right now. So I just say, now that I can understand. I don't have the luxury of a track record with you. And obviously, I'm not the person's name. So let me reintroduce myself. My name's Justin Von Meigen. I'm one of the top producing agents here at Senior Life Services. And I pride myself on my ability to go the extra mile for my clients and help their families through the claims process every step of the way. You see, I'm not here just to guide you into a plan and get you a random program that you pay a payment on every month. But my job is to find you a program that best suits your needs and make sure that those needs are met when your family needs it most. And at the heart of all of our success here at Senior Life Services is one simple thing. We make sure that your claims get paid when you need it. We processed over $2 million in claims last month for our clients, and that's all we do. We specialize in final expense plans. We don't sell any other type of insurance. So why don't you do this? Enroll in what we do is we drop the coverage amount. So I'll be like, if I quoted them $50,000, $40,000, and $30,000, and they gave me the objection, I'll be like, so why don't we do this? Why don't we start with the $15,000 option? It's only this much a month, all right? And you'll finally be checking this off your list and we can get started on it. Sound fair enough? And one out of like 3 or 4 people who give you an objection are going to close right there. 1 out of every 3 or 4. Now, there are some other rebuttals and responses that you can use to specific objections, and I'll cover a couple of them right here. If someone says that they're not the decision maker and they have to talk to their spouse or they have to handle it, there's a couple ways that you can handle this. One way I'm going to go over here, and this is why it's important to have a bunch of different closes, because not every single one is going to work every time. But this one worked for me last week. We quoted them. It was like a $200 a month policy, $175 and like $140, right? And he's like, I got to talk to my wife. And I said, hey, I get what you're saying. I want her to be involved in this for sure. Have you ever talked to your wife about like what would happen when you pass though? I'm sure you guys have discussed that, right? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, so obviously it's clear that this is something important to you guys. She'd probably be objecting to the price then, more than anything, not the idea of the insurance itself, right? And he said, oh yeah. I said, well, at what price would she not really care? Would it be like $50 a month? Would she really care? Assuming in a perfect world, if there was a program that was $50 a month, do you think she'd really make a big deal about it? Or I started at 75. I'm like, if it was like $75 a month, would she make a big deal out of it? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And I said, okay, what if it was like $60 a month? Would she make a big deal out of it? Say you had all your final expenses covered for $60 a month. Would she really worry about that? He said, no, she wouldn't. I said, okay, so why don't we do this then? Let's start with the $60 plan. I know that you ideally want the $150 a month plan or whatever it is, what that one will get you. But let's start with the $60 a month plan. We'll put in the application because we're going to have to do that anyway to make sure you can get approved. At least you're going to have something in place that you guys can manage every month and that she's not going to yell at you about. We'll get the policy sent out to you. You can look it over with her. You know that you have the bare minimum covered, and if you guys want to increase it to that amount or to whatever amount you feel is best for you, then I'm going to be here and I'll help walk you guys through the entire policy from start to finish. Sound good? And he agreed, and then we went. So sometimes they say they can't make a decision for themselves, but they don't have to ask their spouse when they go to the grocery store and buy food, right? Hey, can I get like Wonder Bread this week? No, they just go get it. So sometimes it's a price objection. In that case, it was. All right, it was just a price thing. There are going to be times when someone has to talk to their significant other or someone important in their life, and you're not going to be able to overcome that objection. So that's just one of the examples of some objection handling that's helped us close more sales. But what it comes down to is you guys need to be unreasonable in your expectations of making the close. You need to be unreasonable in your expectations of making the sale and be relentless and be persistent and push and quote everyone no matter what they say. I want you to go through, and this is the wrap up here, I want you to quote everybody and do anything you can to get a presentation in. Because if you get that person on the phone, there's a good chance you're never going to get them on the phone again. So make sure you push, be relentless, be unreasonable, and be persistent. And I don't care if they think you're pressuring them. Like, who cares? Like, that's your job, right? That's a salesperson. And, whatever. There's sales gurus out there, so you don't have to pressure people. You don't have to do this. Like, okay, cool. That sounds good in a perfect world. But no matter how good your fact finding is, no matter how good your greeting is, you're going to run into people who give you objections that you're going to have to push in the close. And the agents I know who make the most money, sell the most policies, they also get the most no's because they're just quoting machines. They're following a presentation, but they're like presentation. They don't care what people say. So I want you to understand it. If you fall into that trap of looking for reasons why people won't buy and trying to have this like perfect presentation that everybody just is a laydown, it's not going to happen, and you're going to have to get good at closing. So practice this, practice your objections, practice your rebuttals, and you're going to want to watch this next video coming up, because this is going to show you how to handle every single rebuttal that we use on my team to overcome these objections. You're going to want to watch this next video. Thanks for tuning in.